Hi, I'm Derek Shane. For over 15 years, I've worked with clients, helping them to overcome their various challenges. Things like addiction, alcohol, drugs, challenges with marriage, divorce, athletes trying to reach their peak performance and overcome mental barriers and blocks. Emotional tracing is such an effective tool, I want to talk more about it. How emotional tracing works is that we all have emotions, and these emotions are created at some particular event. I'll give you an example. I worked with a client who was about 30 years old. He was having challenges keeping a job. And as we did the emotional tracing, he felt like he was never good enough. And so we traced that back to an event when he was in 4th grade, when his father had challenged him to get his report card, get grades on his report card of A's and B's. He'd been struggling getting C's and D's, and his father said, "I'll tell you what, if you get all A's and B's, we'll go to a theme park." So he was very excited, worked very, very hard, and he finally got his report card, and sure enough, he'd gotten all A's and B's. So the 4th grader goes running all the way home from school and goes crashing in the front door, anxious to show his dad his new report card. Well, when he came in the front door, his dad immediately yelled at him, "How many times do I have to tell you, don't smash the front door? Go to your room." Well, he was devastated. Very upset, crying, and the feeling of, hey, no matter what I do, I'm never good enough, came to him. And that's the conclusion he drew from that experience. As I worked with him, we later discovered that actually the next day his mother had conveyed somewhat of an apology and said to him, "Your dad had just gotten a phone call 10 minutes before you got home telling him that he had been laid off from work. So he was really, really upset. And quite frankly, wondering how in the world he was going to take you to the theme park and provide our rent and everything else. And admittedly, he took it out on you a little bit. He shouldn't have, but he did." Well, the explanation and the logic and reasoning was a day late. The emotional conclusions had already been made, and he had already decided he was never good enough. And that decision, that choice, that conclusion stayed with him the rest of his life. And so as I talk with him, we work through this together. He became aware of the choices that he'd made and began to also understand that he was now functioning his life based on the decisions and choices of a 4th grader. And so we used congruency alignment and some other tools to help him readjust those choices and to put together new programming, a new way to approach life. I happened to run into him 2 years later, and he confirmed that he had been able to keep his job for over 2 years and was extremely happy. And when I asked him about that feeling of not feeling good enough, he confirmed that that was not an issue, that he had overcome that, and in fact it had actually become a strength. That he was more confident that he was a good worker, that he had real skills to bring to a company, and that he no longer had that viewpoint in that programming. Emotional tracing is so effective.